for Zoning Appeals on Thursday, November 16th, 2023, 6 p.m. Stuffy.
Mr. Shipley?
Here.
Mr. Tress? Here. Mrs. Ross?
Here.
Mrs. Beth?
Here.
Mr. Pax?
Here.
Okay. Anyone who intends to testify, please raise your right hand and be sworn. You solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please state, I do.
I do.
And when it's your turn to offer testimony, please step up to the microphone, state your full name and address, and affirm that you've been sworn, please. And we can start this evening with our new business, variance application VA 2322.
Thank you, Mr. Shipley. This is variance case VA-23-22. The applicant is the Olentangy Board of Education, care of Jeff Gordon, for a property located at 774 Graphics Way with a parcel lot size 2.315 acres. It's currently zoned planned commercial and office district. They are requesting one variance from the Orange County zoning resolution to allow for fewer parking spaces than the required 4 per classroom plus 1 for each 4 students in the planned commercial and office district. So the site is located at 774 Graphics Way, which is located several parcels north of East Orange Road and 1 parcel east of US 23. Features a 20,103 square foot 2-story building with classroom and office space currently owned by the Olentangy Local School District. Classrooms serve Olentangy Academy, which is a STEM program open to students from all 4 Olentangy high schools. There will be about 200 students enrolled in the program, and a portion of the students do not drive and will be transported by bus. The building is surrounded by parking areas on the east, west, and south sides, totaling 124 spaces. So the reason we're here, the applicant is proposing a 2-story building addition that will total about 11,805 square feet, which will be comprised primarily of new classroom space. The existing building plus the new addition's cumulative square footage will be 31,908 square feet. The new addition will require some of the parking area to be removed, and the proposal will also encompass reconfigurations to the drive aisles, sidewalks, and removal of some of the existing parking spaces. Again, surrounding area is primarily planned commercial and office districts, as well as to the east is a planned industrial district. So on the screen there, you can see the proposed site plan with the building addition there in the center of the screen. So the new addition will include additional classroom and teaching space. Will be a total of 11,805 square feet. So the total number of classrooms after the addition, as defined by the applicant, will be 22. So 22 classrooms upon completion of the building addition. Again, post-addition, the parking lot will contain 84 total parking spaces upon completion of the project. So our zoning code requires 88 total parking spaces based on the number of classrooms times 4 spaces, plus 50 total parking spaces for 1 space for every 4 students, with the overall total required by code being 138 spaces. The applicant will not meet the above requirements since the proposed new parking area will contain only 84 spaces, which is a variance of 54 parking spaces. This represents the roughly 39% variance request from the requirements in zoning resolution section 21.01E. I do say that I think there are some mitigating factors here that our code is really designed for high schools. It's particularly designed for secondary schools with large classrooms, and assuming that a good chunk of the student population would be driving. And I believe the school has representatives here, Mr. Bruce Runyon and Mr. Jeff Gordon, as well as some other representatives who can kind of go over in detail why they think that this variance is appropriate for this site. That's all I have at this time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gordon? Would you like to speak?
Yes, sir. I need to affirm that I've been sworn in.
Okay, your name, your address, and then you've been sworn in.
Okay. My name is Jeff Gordon. The address, board office address, 7480 Graphics Way, here in Lewis Center. I'm the Chief Operations Officer for the district. I've been sworn in, and thank you for hearing our variance tonight. As Mr. Dunphy mentioned, we have some extenuating circumstances with this building in that it's not your traditional school building. We use this building for our STEM program and our ACT program. Limited number of students with STEM. Over 2/3 of them are freshmen and sophomores that don't drive. Approximately 1/3 of them are juniors and seniors that may possibly drive, and most of the kids are bused. But the addition that we're doing is we're really right-sizing the building for our other program, which is our Academy and Community Transition. And those are students with special needs between the age of 18 and 21 that we're required to educate up to age 21. And these are non-driving students. Our biggest needs for accommodating these students are the restrooms. We're limited with restrooms in the building by the need code. It doesn't necessarily meet the needs of those students, so we're expanding the building to add restrooms and add additional spaces. A lot of the programs that we do with these students is teaching them to work and live on their own. So some of the spaces are set up like a house, a living room, a kitchen, washer and dryer, to do things to help them get used to the daily chores that they would have to perform living on their own, as well as setting up spaces that maybe are like running a cash register in little stores, different things like that. So the spaces are not your traditional school spaces, and that's why we feel that this variance, we understand the intent, and we fully agree that for a traditional school building that those are appropriate, but for the use of this building and how this building is being designed and set up, it really, the parking spaces are less necessary because of the students in the building, in the program.
So I think the obvious first question is, what other options have we looked at? So have we ran that track line? Have we looked at all the options? You feel like you looked at all the options available?
We do. We spoke with the county about possibly acquiring land that they own at the building next door. They bought the vacant land in between what is the Development of Disabilities building, and they're at this point not willing to give that up. We could possibly discuss a lease with them, but that wouldn't be guaranteed to hold forever, because once they develop that space, we would lose that. We have discussed the cost of purchasing the land directly behind our board office, which is adjacent, and their price per acre right now is kind of reasonable, we think. And we do have, as part of what's put on there as an option that we have looked at and we can do and would do with our teachers, is if we are short of spaces, we have additional parking in our board office, we could ask our teachers to park there so that we create more spaces if we needed it for students. And that's a very short, or we're just right across the parking lot from them.
Is this the board office?
I have to walk through the.
Oh, okay.
Jeff, the street.
One question I have on that also, the utilization rate of that existing parking lot that you have for the board office, what's an average that you see of available spaces there? Can you give a percentage?
I would say we're 65 to 70%. The busiest time we have are the students. So when I mentioned the utilization of drivers, about a third of the drivers, they're also coming 2 shifts. They're not there all day. So of the drivers, it's about 100 that are juniors and seniors that could possibly drive, and it's about only half of them are there at one time. So we're about 65 to 70% utilized. If there's any tightness when they maybe are coming and going, if we have anything that gets higher than that, but we really watch and kind of, as we've gone through the opening of school and look, and we've not had where that parking lot's been full. Again, that's what we feel. If we really ran into that issue, we have staff, which are about 12 to 15, park over at the board office.
Any plans for further development on this site?
No, we don't have room for any further development there. And our STEM going up, no. I don't think going up is within the code either. But no, we don't plan to do that. And while this is a STEM program, it's a limited program, we still offer a lot of STEM options back in each high school. So if there's any expansion of that program, we would like to keep them in homeschool if possible. Especially if that's why a lot of kids with freshmen and sophomore, they come out and try STEM, then they go back to the homeschool and then we take those other classes there.
Any other questions? Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Are there any other public comments? Anybody would like to say anything? on this particular page? All at once? So we have factors that we are required to go through and look at, and if there are no other comments from the board, or pleasure from the board, I will make a motion. And based on the factors that we look at here, I will move to approve case number VA 2322 for property located at 7774 Ravage Way, seeking an area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 2101E, to allow for a parking area of spaces, 81 total spaces, which is 54 spaces fewer than required based on the code requirements.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Shipley, seconded by Ms. Neff. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Trez?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
Yes.
Motion carries. Variance is approved.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our second application is VA CU 23-23.
Thank you, Mr. Shipley. So this is variance case VACU 23-23, a variance and conditional use for property located at 6459 Artesian Run. The applicant is Rebecca Green with Columbus Sign Company. The project is the CME Federal Credit Union, which is currently under construction. They are seeking 5 area variances from the Orange Township zoning resolution to allow 5 wall signs to be above the allowed 15 feet maximum height, in addition to a conditional use for a monument sign, and 1 additional area variance from rezoning case ZON-16-03 to allow for a monument sign along US 23 where it is prohibited. This is a lot that is 1.302 acres in size, and the zoning is planned commercial and office district. The applicant is requesting area variances from the Orange Township zoning resolution, Article 22, for 5 wall signs that will exceed the maximum height of 15 feet. Again, conditional use and area variance from the specific rezoning case 1603 to allow for the monument sign to be located again adjacent to the US 23 roadway frontage. The monument sign would be 2-faced, standing 17 feet 6 inches tall by 9 feet 4 inches wide with a brick base. The sign display area would be 3 feet and 10 3/8 inches by 9 feet 4 inches wide, totaling 16.5 square feet on each side. Summaries of the type, size, and locations of all the proposed signs are within the following exhibits. For the surrounding area, is surrounded by 3 sides by planned commercial and office district, and then to the west is planned single-family residential district with the Lantangi crossings. On the following page, you can see the aerial of the site in question. And then on the following, you can see the zoomed-in aerial of the site. So on the following page of the staff report, you can see Exhibit 1, which is wall sign number 1. Just as a note, that there will be actually 2 businesses that will operate out of this building. One is the CME Credit Union. Then they are also proposing a Crimson Cup coffee shop to be located in there as well. So there are signages for both entities included as part of this request. So for the first wall sign, again, there is a maximum of 15 feet of height above the finished grade, and that is measured to the top of the sign in question. So for the first wall sign, which is wall sign number 1, they're requesting that it be placed at a height of 20 feet and 4 1/4 inch. That is a variance of 5 feet 4 inches and a quarter, which is roughly a 36% variance request from section 22.03. On the following page, you can see more of the signs. So this is above their drive-through canopy. Again, this is the 15-foot height limit measured to the top of the sign. The applicant's proposing that wall sign 2, north elevation, is to be placed at a height of 16 feet and 11 inches and a half. That is a variance of 1 foot and 11 and a half inches, which is roughly a 13% variance from rezoning 16-03. And the wall sign 2 is the coffee sign on the left-hand side of that. On the following page is wall sign 3, which is the CME drive-through sign. Again, it's the same section of code that prohibits this limit of 15 feet measured to the top of the sign. The applicant is proposing that wall sign number 3 to be placed at a height of 16 feet 11 inches and a half. That is again a variance of 1 foot 11 and a half inches, which is roughly a 13% variance request from section 22.03. The next wall sign is the one on the right. And again, it exceeds that 15-foot limit measured to the top of the sign. This sign is proposed to be placed at a height of 17 feet 5 1/4 inches. A variance of 2 feet 5 1/4 inches, which is approximately 16% variance request from section 22.0. And then the fifth and final wall sign is the CME Federal Credit Union sign, again exceeding that 15-foot height limit. They're proposing that this sign be placed at a height of 15 feet 7 3/4 inches, which is a variance of 7 3/4 inches, which is an approximately 4.6% variance request from section 22.0. And on the following page is our last sign, which is their monument sign. So this one, they are requesting a variance because the rezoning text in ZON-16-03 specifically states that no ground monument signs will be permitted along US 23. Eric, do you have the site plan for this, where this would be located?
Yep.
Hold on. While he's pulling that up, I would also mention that we do have regulations in our base zoning code for how large monument signs can be, depending on how far set back they are from the right of way. And this monument sign would meet those requirements if the variance would be approved.
The issue is that it's along 23.
Correct, and that development text specifically states that no monument signs can be located along US 23.
So both 7 and 8 are along 23?
So Exhibit 7 and Exhibit 8 in your staff reports are the same sign. If you approve the variance to allow for that sign to be located there, they would still require the conditional use for a monument sign as is required by our code. So they need to request both the variance and the conditional use. Both would need to be approved in order for the sign to be constructed.
Are there any concerns with lighting, like how these signs are lit? Are they lit?
I don't have that information for me. Is somebody here on behalf of the applicant this evening?
Well, we can, have you finished your brief, Mr.
Yes, I am finished unless the board has more questions for me. Typically, these signs are accent lit from the ground.
Right. Okay. Ms. Green?
Hello, my name is Rebecca Green, and I'm at 74 Glen Drive, Wilmington, Ohio, and I have this one. Great, so this is as staff said, this is the new CME building. We're pretty excited about it. It's a little different in that it's a two-use building. Both the bank will be there with the typical bank features, you know, the lobby, and also a coffee shop. It's also a little different in that the drive-through is accommodating both the coffee shop and the what we would consider typical bank uses, a live teller with a speaker and that sort of thing, as well as an ATM. So because we have a dual-use building, we need a few additional signs to make sure we've got people parking at the right entrances, and we've got the drive-through functioning correctly. So if it's okay, can I just go through the signs that we just talked about?
Sure.
Started at Exhibit 1 or whatever it was.
Is this the presentation you wanted to have on?
No, just if you could just go back to staff report, that'd be great. I'll
Oh,
start
sure.
with that.
No problem.
Great. Obviously, it's within the Olentangy crossing development area, which is, I'm sure you're aware, very busy. Lots of diverse commercial spaces there. The sign that's on the north side, which is placed on a brick tower, and Eric, can you get to the cup sign?
Okay. Yeah.
That'd be great. The sign that's on the north side is part of the identification of the Crimson Cup. This is their logo. This is the Crimson Cup logo. And it is located on the, I'm sorry.
Could we see a site plan? I just want to orient myself a little better to position of the building in relation to Route 23 and north, just the cardinal access points.
Let's do that.
Because I'm a little confused. I just want to make sure I'm crystal.
Yeah, let's do that. So this, if we can zoom out a little bit, might be helpful.
Sure.
This is the site plan. 23 is on the east. There it is.
Right here?
Yep, that's 23. And then there will be wall signage on the east face of the building. The Crimson Cup, I was just talking about, the cup sign is on the north. It's placed on a brick tower feature. The canopy signs for the drive-through also face north, but you can see that the canopy itself is on the west side of the building along Artesian Run. And then there'll be signage also on the south side of this building, which is our main access point off of Harper's
Ridge.
Thank you. And again, because it's a dual-use building, we have signage for each, for those entrances on the south side. And then the monument sign that we're proposing is right there. It sits on the edge of our parking lot on the east side. And its purpose is to signal where Gallagher's Bridge is, where that turnoff is. So let's, if much I'd like to let's go through the signs just so the staff report has them. That makes it, I think, a little easier to compare them.
You want to start at the coffee cup?
Yep, that'd be great. Thanks, Rudy. So the coffee cup is placed, is the signal, it is the identifying piece for Crimson Cup. And it is placed on the brick tower wall that's on the north side of this building. And you can see that it's been specifically designed for that space. It is, as Beth says, it is a 20-foot, 4-inch height to the top of the sign. But it is intended to signal that this is the drive-through area for the coffee. And its purpose is both to signal that, to identify that use, and also to provide an accent for that tower area, the brick tower area. Go ahead, Eric, give me the next. These signs here are much more like directional signs than they are typical wall signs, in that they are showing the use of this particular drive-through and how to get through it successfully, and how to choose which lane you want to be in. Obviously, the coffee lane is for the Crimson Cup use. The middle lane is for your traditional teller use, where you have the pneumatic tubing and the outside lane is for the ATM. So these signs here, although see the 15-foot limit, the fact that you're driving under these signs, it's important for us to make sure that these signs are not obstructing the vehicle or causing property damage. So they are centered in that space, top to bottom. They are, and the purpose again is to make sure people are moving through this space efficiently and safely and with the appropriate directions. So we'll just skip through the canopy to that one. Yeah. These are the signs on the south side, and you can see here that the Crimson Cup sign that's on the left has already been approved by staff, so that's not an issue here. The sign on the right is the CME, and it needs just a slight variance to center it in that space. So you've got glass on the top, glass on the bottom, and then the space in between, which has been designed for the sign, and it was designed to be centered in that space. So that it's attractive. To push it a little lower would make it feel a little off because it was designed to be centered. And again, it's I think only like a 4% area variance. It's not substantial. And then of course our last sign is the monument sign. And if you think about it, this is I'm sure you're very familiar. So you go south on 23. There's a very long right turn lane. That is, I think, the entire length of the site of this particular location. And our goal is to get people safely off of 23 going south, get them into that right turn lane, and to get them onto Gallagher's Bridge. It frankly acts less as a typical monument sign because it is set back. As more of a directional sign too. Our goal is for folks not to make erratic movements on an already busy road trying to change lanes. We want them to move smoothly through traffic and onto Gallagher's Ridge and into our parking lot without having to go too far, miss the right turn lane, coming back and jumbling through traffic in an already busy area. It is, that's really what it is. It's compliant in any other way except for the fact that the development tax prohibits it. Now, there is another ground sign along 23 where this board is allowed a variance, and even though it was prohibited, it is at Kroger. The Kroger gas station across the street, that's also within the same area, the same development area. And it was allowed by this board in 2008, I think. And it is obviously a much more substantial looking sign. It's a larger sign. Ours is compliant and is smaller than is allowed. So there is precedent for allowing signage along this area. And as when I read through the discussion, part of it was in fact that they wanted to signal people to turn safely into a not easy to see entrance. And that's what we're looking to do too. We want people to be able to move through that busy area into Developers Bridge easily. It's not, there's no big demarcations where that is of that particular road as you go south. And that's the purpose of that sign. I'm happy to take any questions. I've got folks here who are also happy to take questions about it.
I think just a quick question for sign number 1.
Sure.
So why the 20 feet 4 inches? I mean, that's a 36% variance.
Yeah,
it is. So why the 20 foot 4 inches?
It is intended to mark the tower. It is a brick tower feature. It is an accent feature to the building, so that it's not plain. Make it more interesting to look at. And it marks that tower. It's centered at the top of the tower.
More explicitly,
yes.
Did you know what the zoning rules were when you designed the building?
I'm not sure how I can answer that. I'm sure they had a general idea of what the zoning rules were. The specifics,
no,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure the answer to that.
Okay. And once you learned that, did you consider redesigning that tower? Again, I'm sorry, I just don't know the answer to that question. Okay.
representatives from CME here.
Yeah, I do have one question. That sign in particular, is that backlit illuminated on that coffee cup?
Let's look.
I couldn't see the description of it when I was looking on the text.
It's basically muted.
I thought it was internally illuminated.
Basically changed. Basically.
That's my recollection.
Basically-
This is an internally illuminated sign.
Okay.
Let me double
So
check.
basically, it's going to be reading red. I mean, bright red. It's not like a shadow cast line outside the perimeter. Those are some of the things on the different signage qualities of the lighting that I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear on.
Right, understood.
So if it's, basically red acrylic and it's backlit illuminated, that I know the whole thing is glowing. That's what we're talking about. That's fine. Just wanted to make sure I was clear on that.
Understood. Anything else that I can answer? Yes, sir.
On Exhibit 2, where you have the drive-through lanes,
Yes, sir.
it appears that the ground level goes down from the innermost coffee down to the outermost ATM.
Let me take a check. Let me look and see.
See it at the bottom?
Someone here who cannot wait to answer that question. Excellent.
My name is Brian Lowers. I'm with the Environmental Design Group up in Akron, part of the civil design team that worked on the project. And I've been sworn in.
I'll get your address, please, sir.
It's 450 Grant Street, Akron. Speaking to that part, I wanted to bring that up actually. That is one reason for the increase in variance. Some of the sign level locations really were set architecturally to be more universal across the building and to blend with the trim and roof lines. If you look at the cup emblem and signage, it kind of centers on that roof line as well. And I was brought in to lend a hand with this part kind of later in the project. I think architecturally some of the design thoughts were based on the Dairy Queen across the street and the large tower and sign up on front of that, and then the Kroger ground sign. So they kind of took some of those elements and rolled them in. I believe there may have been, and I wasn't involved at this time, a little bit of misconception. I think they were following the Delaware County's sign code instead of Orange Township directly. And the complementary architectural features were all put together, everything was all aligned, and then they came back and were looking at this and saying, oh no, we can't really lower our drive-through. And we have grade sloping way in the drive-through. And I think the original understanding was that these would be considered more directional signs than typical signage on the drive-through.
No. The
So,
directional signs have a definite definition.
agreed.
So,
Yeah, and I think there was some, in fact, they reduced the original intent on signage on the drive-throughs. They tried to make more generic in regard to that to keep them closer to directional signage, and they reduced what those signs originally were to try to stay in line. Now, because the grade does slope away, it does increase that variance request, but the way they're shown is still centered on that approach and still large enough to try to be visible.
did you need, did you need the grade to go down in order to meet a height requirement to go through the drive-through?
I believe the first lane, if you look, the first lane is meeting the height requirement required for the drive-through. And as the grade slopes down, it's simply a stormwater drainage issue to maintain on that part of the site.
Okay,
I don't know that the height of the canopy, I believe there was a minimum height, but they didn't consider it from a maximum perspective. They just sloped away to make sure that it drained properly.
And did you know anything about the tower?
I know they have a prototypical building, and that tower and sign location is part of the prototypical overall design of the building. As far as relocating or modifying it, I don't know if that's been done. It would just take another approach architecturally and to find something that tried to make that work.
Okay.
If you look, if you saw the overall, it kind of blends as well with the other signs and that exist in other CME. Everything kind of gives an eye-level architectural design around the building.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, the one I said, the ground monument sign, one of the importance of that is because the shared use on the building, and as she spoke to the right turn lane coming up, once you include the shared use, if you were to split that into two separate signs for the two businesses, it's actually a pretty small signage out front. And combined, it still sits underneath the required conditional use code and the setback that would be available. I think they tried to style it and design it architecturally to match, similarly to what that Kroger is existing across the street.
I'm looking at the Crimson Cup on the first, yeah, first unit. Have you considered moving it down at all so that it's less of a substantial variance?
We've discussed it, and it was one of those that the site plans were set together architecturally, so before we went further with modifying and trying to go back and forth and change that eye line or that sight line, we thought it best to come and discuss and hope that we look at it as a whole, as a package. And then if we need to, if that's really causing issues, we could further the discussion on that.
I was just doing some calculations that usually we consider anything above 25% to be substantial. So I was looking number-wise at, I'm a math nerd, what the difference is between the measurements to get to more to the 25% end of things.
I guess this question is for Robin, because I didn't see it on the overhead. What buildings are just to the north of this building? And are they set back approximately the same distance from the road? Are they taller?
Yeah, so there's, Eric, if you can pull up the auditor's site, that might be helpful. So Sherwin-Williams is directly to the north of there. I believe that one is, let's see, of course it's not on the aerial. I'm not exactly sure how far setback that is compared to.
I believe the two fronts of the building align. If you go into like a street view on any of those, you can see the both buildings under construction. And I believe both buildings align similarly on that right away.
Which would make sense given that they would have the same setback.
Yeah, I believe they're constructed almost simultaneously.
They're pretty close.
Yeah, close. Time-wise.
Well, you had spoken about visibility, so I was trying to determine if that visibility is interfered with by other buildings.
It would be, as far as seeing that tower that we're discussing, you don't really notice that until you're starting to pass the Sherwin-Williams, because that is in the sideline, which is one of the purposes of the sign.
The Sherwin-Williams is where your arrow was.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's much more closer to 23.
Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way closer. Actually,
And it's kind of hard to see.
I didn't know you guys have set back that far.
I didn't either.
that's one of the
Surprise.
It's a disadvantage to them.
Yeah, so measuring on the auditor's website, it looks like Sherwin-Williams is set back about 86 feet from the property line, right of way of 23.
And this one's set back how much?
I am unclear on that one. You'll have to give me a minute.
Well, while you're working on that, the right-hand turn lane is what is coming in on the north branch below your building, right?
Correct.
If you're going south.
Yeah, if you're going south. And if you're going north, you've got to go up to the light, turn in, and come back down at it.
Correct.
Welcome to the whole two lanes of road on both sides.
It is pretty, setback substantially further than sure.
It is.
So this building is set back 100 feet.
So, yeah.
And that last sign, where does it sit? Is
Sorry,
it
which
at
one?
the corner of the building or the corner of the parking lot?
The brown sign?
monument sign?
The monument sign.
It sits on the corner of the parking lot. To go back to the site plan, we can point that out to you again. And it's, I think, 36 feet from the right of way, so it's not close to the right of way. And that's what we're relying on, as it being more of a telling travelers, okay, this is your turn to get in. There's where he started the words.
And how far back from the road is that then?
I believe it's 36 feet from the
36.
right of way.
It's aligned with the front of the parking.
Right. But it isn't intrusive into the visual portion of 23, but it is enough to give folks traveling south a little information that here it comes, here's your turn. Because Gallagher's, which is not, doesn't have a lot of demarcation.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
If someone is parking in that parking space right next to the sign, how many people north can even see that sign?
That's a good point. You're welcome to say we're hoping, obviously, that's not the parking spaces most people would choose because they want to be close to the entrances.
No, but I know
Still,
some
I
people
understand what you're saying.
that have nice trucks and they want to get out away from everything else, or cars. I don't mean to be one way or the other. And further down 23, we've got a couple car dealerships, or had to, and that was one of the issues they had. People were parking and they never could see their signs, so they wanted to put a monument sign up in the air, and
Yes.
of course that's not allowed.
Yes, I understand. But you can see that the entrance part, most of the parking is closer to the building.
Yeah.
So that is part of it. And I agree. Those are expensive, those pickup trucks are pricey. Yeah.
So Robin, if that sign was just flipped around so that it wasn't blocked by the parking lot and it was within that 36.68 feet distance, would that require a variance or would that be within code?
I would have to look at the text. Well, we didn't analyze it like that.
We'd still have to.
Yeah,
It would still require
be
conditional
right,
use.
but if it was approved, would that just?
But you said
It would also, it would also change because the allowed sign, the height and the width of the sign are determined by how far set back it is from the right of way. We would have to do the calculations with how far set back it is from Gallagher's Ridge.
I have one last question. I promise I'll leave it. Bruce a couple of. If we go back to the site overhead that you showed that shows the Sherwin-Williams, I just want to be clear, looking at what we can see of your building, can you show us approximately how far back on the building that cup would sit? Because I'm just trying to determine how visible it would
It's
be.
about where that little tree, you see that green circle?
Okay,
That's the approximate location of where that tower is on the north elevation.
thank you.
It's
So between the trees and the Sherwin-Williams, that'll be blocked for most of the southbound traffic.
Yeah, I don't think it was placed there intently to sell based on that highway. It was based on the building design.
Yeah. Oh, I know why it was built. Well, I assume it was built that way because of the design, so.
Right. The architect's not here, so I can say that.
Anyone have any other questions? Any other public comment? Anybody want to speak, sir?
My name is John Thiede, that's Thiede. I live at 6726 Fall Brook Trail, 3 Roots, and I have been sworn.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I live in the subdivision back behind where this is planned. So there's several issues that I kind of have with it. One first is the monument sign. Currently, all the other new businesses that have opened up, BB Bob, Panera Bread, others that are along that side there, they were denied doing a monument sign, period. So as soon as you would approve this one for the monument sign, guess what, they're all gonna come back. We want a monument sign now. If you give it to one, you give it to all. Okay, that's a fair quote, okay? I also have an issue with the signage of the signs. We live in the back. We do have a mound that's back there to help eliminate some of the lighting that comes into the back of those homes there. The higher you keep building these lights and allow those to happen, the more chance of those lights illuminating into those homes. To me, consequently, that is a poor selling point. If I own a home along those homes there, along the Artesian Way, that reduces. If I'm living in upstairs and I'm having to look out and I see lights all along right here, I don't think that's fair either. You know, the whole part, I heard a question, I think you should, Kevin, asked here a minute ago about why did we put the monument, the one sign on the brick tower, I guess that's there. Seems odd that we build a building that far back and then you can't see it till, I can't point, looks like a car up along the lines of the trees of their park right there on the Interstate 23, sorry. So see that car there and the car further up would be the only 2 cars that could ever see that particular sign. So I don't think it's a benefit to have that sign there for them, other than now it's creating light that goes into the subdivision itself. That's basically my misgivings. I'm happy to see a business come in, finally seeing the whole area being developed, instead of empty parking lots or empty lots that have grass that grow up to 6 feet tall, typically, right? But I think regulations and so forth have been set in the past to build that area up to be a certain way, to look a certain amount because of the homes that are back behind there. The homes back there range probably now a minimum of say 550,000 up to over 1.2 million further back into the subdivision. I was lucky I got to buy the house early on, so my price is a little bit lower. But I want to maintain the level of what the value of that house is when I do plan to sell after my daughter graduates from high school and moves on to college and I finally get to retire. So I beg the board to not approve the monument signs or the variances for the sign heights in there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment?
Good evening, my name is John Coggins. I reside at 150 Long Branch Run in Delaware, and yes, I've been sworn in. I'd like to preface my comments by assuring our friends from the new construction, I'm really looking forward to your place opening up, especially the Crimson Cup. So, and I think many of our fellow neighbors are as well. And Aaron just does a little bit of coffee, right? So we're looking forward to the business. I like the design. A couple of the sign variance requests are inches or only a foot above the limit, and so they seem very innocuous. The signs across the top of the drive-through, really they make sense because they're stuck on the roof of the drive-through. But that is my concern that my neighbor just brought up, and that's on the back side of that building. Those signs, I understand, are intended to be illuminated. And so that light would be thrown into the homes of all those houses along Artesian Way from a high height. So that's my concern with those drive-through signs. With the 20-foot tower sign, I love the logo. I think it's great looking. It's on the north side. There's no homes on that north side. I'm less concerned about that. But at the same time, I'm more concerned about the door that we're opening up there, because if I'm recalling correctly, we wouldn't allow Friendship Kitchen to build an architectural element on their roof so that they could pop their sign up nice and high. I can't remember what the height was. The board turned that down. And for the same reason, I'm going to recommend we not allow at least that 20-foot sign on the architectural element, because I think it opens the door for other people than just, it's a race to the sky with structures built with the sign stuck up at the top. I like that look a lot better than, a Breezewood, Pennsylvania style row of signs along the route. This is a lot more attractive, but it's still a sign that goes above the variance, and it opens a door that I think we're not going to be able to close once it gets out there. Those are my main concerns with this design. That's why I would ask that the board hold true to the zoning and not allow variance on those signs in particular. Any questions? My thoughts? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Green, is there anyone that can, is there anyone who can speak to the actual illumination of the signs on the building? We didn't speak to they say they're face illuminated. What's that mean? What's the coolness, the brightness? How are they going to be illuminated? If I missed it in here, just tell me, but I don't see exactly.
These are internally illuminated signs, and the light is not intended to go across the boundary of our property. I did want to clarify on the drive-through signs. Those drive-through signs, they turn them off. The bank signs, they turn them off when they close, so that the customers will not be signaling through bank lines, because there's no bank person to help them. And the coffee shop also closes at 7, and the same thing would be true of that sign. Also, the signs face north and not west on the drive-through.
Thank you. That's critical with the office, with the business hours and the lights. I was curious about that.
We don't want people to go through the drive-through expecting, service. There's nothing that helps.
It's a mitigating factor. Then you have illumination under your canopy, I assume. That's just direct down lights, I assume there too. Those would be on 24/7 though.
Do you want me to verify, because I don't know the answer?
I assume they have to be for safety for your drive-through area, so you're not getting people begging that
The
structure.
ATM is still active right now.
Okay, yeah, so I assume that it is.
That's true, the 18 is still active.
And there's a night drop box there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, on that back lane.
So those are property needed facilities, if there's a night drop box, yes.
Yes.
Which signs are illuminated on the west side?
There aren't any signs illuminated on the west side, because there are just signs on the west side.
Okay.
Well,
Or the cups north side.
Yeah.
The cups more, okay.
So the other question that I would have, you do have an after-hour depository there on that north side of the building. Do you have wall packs, lights that are there?
Again, I'm going to have to ask the experts, which is not me.
So that would be the other sensitive thing to the neighbors, I would assume, on that, as well as the red cup illumination, but also the wall packs. So I don't know how much light you're throwing from that, or the architect, if they can confirm that. But that's a sensitive issue also for the neighbors.
Right, understood. Of course, it's not an issue today, and that we're looking for sign variances, but I understand the interest in the light.
That's not up for zoning, right?
No, it's mainly just more of an issue on the argument.
Additional.
Yes, of concern with the residents, but the height of it also, and just how much is actually necessary. It's a drive lane, and so that's the only other thing of, and we have no, I know this is not, on our purview as our role. I just was bringing that up as far as the impact on them with elevation, the residents' concerns, mainly.
And another public comment.
I'll be very brief. My name is Dylan McComb. I reside at 6710 Fallbrook Trail and on Tangent Crossings. And I just want to reiterate some of the things that were already mentioned. Specifically, like the phrasing "race to the sky." I just want to kind of reiterate the concerns that we have within the neighborhood that once this is allowed, others are going to ask for the same thing. We know that there are additional bills that are coming that are going to be looking for the same thing. And there's a reason why the code is what it is. And we would prefer that we honor that, right, to the greatest degree possible.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I'm
So
sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you confirm if you were sworn in?
Oh, no, I was not sworn in. Do I need to be sworn in?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, so where's the Bible?
Chair, please go
Thank you. All right, so if I could, you raise your right hand.
Sure.
Solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Which
Sure.
I do.
I do.
And you give your address.
Yep, 6710 Fallbrook Trail. All right, I know what Tangent Crossing. So continuing, I just wanted to, like I said, just reiterate the concern that the neighborhood has. I think generally there are a number of us here. We are very welcoming and excited for it. It was mentioned earlier for the business that we're talking about. We just want to make sure that we're keeping things aesthetically in line with what we want Orange Township to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we address some questions or comments?
You
Yes, sir.
have to
Yes,
come up
step
to
up
the
to the
mic.
microphone.
Just wanted to make sure before I came up and just did. Again, my name is John Beatty. I live at 6726 Fallbrook Trail in Orange Township, and have been sworn in for a second. I just want to, we were mentioning about the lights turning off, okay? Because of the drive-throughs being, especially the ATM, that's a 24-hour a day, 7 days a week that's open. So for safety, I would assume the lights have to be on above that so that they don't run into the structure of the building, right? And if it's an after-hours deposits, you would assume for safety as well, you would want to have that lit. So that's going to be on from sundown to sunrise, okay? I'm assuming it won't be on during the day, because why would you need it, right? But again, I reiterate the whole part of it. The lights are correct. They're not having any lights that face directly west to the subdivision. So the homes directly behind aren't going to have an issue probably seeing the lights other than what shining down. But anybody that lives to the peripheral of that, they will see those lights. That's the only other comment I have. Thank you.
Robin, just for my benefit, if the place has downlighting, there's a certain amount of lumens that at the border, you've got to register to be within code, right?
It's foot candles, but yes.
Foot candles, sorry. I'm on the metric system.
Which is not part of the issue that we're discussing.
No,
Correct.
no, that was
I
just,
just want to clarify that that's
just
not part of
my
it, right?
benefit.
Yeah, correct. And I knew you knew that. I wasn't
Yeah,
questioning.
no. Always check.
No.
You want to make sure everyone knows.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I was doing. Yeah, thank you. Is there any other public comment? Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can I go?
Yes.
I piggyback on him to swear in, if that's okay.
Okay. And your name, address, and
It's Barbara Benton, 6791 Fallbrook Trail. I'm also in the Tangent Crossings community. I don't want to repeat what our.
You have been sworn in.
I raised my hand.
Thank you.
I said I do. Does that count?
Perfect.
Correct. I echo what has already been said. I agree. I appreciate the township having the standards that it does. I think that creates consistency in our neighborhood, keeps us from turning into a Morse Road at some point, the look and feel of that. So I really value your role. I really like coming. I think it's a great addition to the community. But again, I think standards are there for a reason. I echo on the lack of monument signs. Race to the top, if you will. I also had a thought about, if there is a lighting issue in the back, and I don't know about lumens and so on, but perhaps additional landscaping requirements could come into play to block lighting if it is going to affect the neighbors behind.
Thank you. The, go ahead.
So, one thought I have is that it appears to be the most controversial signs are the monument and I'm going to call it the cup, the tower cup sign. Is there a way that we could separate those out tonight and bring those back to you with some additional ideas and then continue to think about the other signs tonight? Is that something that you all do?
It is. And you're gonna have to keep me straight on that, so.
Right,
So just so we're clear,
Yeah, sure.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Okay. So you requested 5 variances.
Correct.
You're requesting that the BZA proceed with 3 of those 5.
so it's
Or is
not,
there-
so it's,
it's
Julie, sorry, it's
4.
six variances, 5 for wall signs, 1 for.
So all except the monument sign and the crimson cup.
That's right. So it'd be the 3 drive-through signs, and then there's the CME sign on the south side, which has got 4%.
The 4 of the 6. So proceed with 4, and save the monument sign and the crimson cup. Call it.
Yes, and
That's
we'll
how
try
it's
to come back to some other ideas on
But the
those.
monument sign has a,
It's just 1.
no, it's a conditional use.
It's conditional use and
So then we would
Table or continue. Yeah.
So if I'm correct, and keep me straight, you could request to table those 2 and then move forward with the other 4. Is that true?
not necessarily table.
continue.
Correct, so continue will be the correct verbiage.
Thank you.
They are separate. They are separated out. You have
Yes.
separate motions.
Yes, it's okay.
So then we need to just make sure that
And every motion
this
is
one's
separate.
fine.
Yeah.
This one's fine.
That was not.
This is to be covered.
Yeah.
And the action was requested continuation.
Correct. This one is.
The other, the wall sign.
This one. You said, I'm sorry, December 14th. Okay. Okay. So then, just so we're on the record, are you asking the BZA to continue the area variance request for wall sign number 1 on the north elevation, the cup? Correct. The area variance request for the monument sign and the conditional use request for the monument sign.
That's correct.
Okay. That, the board would continue that to, those 3 items, which are item 1, 6, and 7. To a time, date, place certain. Robin has told me that your next meeting is December 14th at 6 p.m. Does that work for you?
That sounds great.
Okay.
So I need a motion.
A motion to continue. I would say item 1, 6, and 7.
If I can call them item 1, 6, and 7, that's fine.
I move to continue items 1, 6, and 7
To December 14th.
to
at 6
December 14th, December, yeah,
At 6 p.m.
of 6 p.m.
I'll second.
Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Krebs?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Nevin?
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
Yes.
Those 3 items are continued to next month's hearing, which is December 14th at 6 p.m. here in this room.
Are there any other questions about the remaining items?
I do have one last clarification. Council could clarify for the audience. I heard several people speak about precedents, and I would like some clarification on that.
Of course. And my name is Julie Dunn, and I'm an attorney with Roche Johnson & Griggs. We serve as legal counsel for the Township and the BZA. In terms of precedent, that's a frequent item that comes up. And with respect to zoning, variances, conditional uses, obviously that's always a concern of the public, but from the BZA's perspective, it does not set precedent. We look at each application individually. Facts and circumstances can be different. And so even if the board does ultimately decide to approve a variance or a conditional use, that doesn't mean that the next applicant that comes along will get the same thing. Again, every development's a little different. Every situation's a little different. So that is something that a valid concern. But from the board's perspective, everything's, again, if they approve something tonight or tomorrow, doesn't mean that everyone gets one moving forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Question to that right there. And you'd like to address it to her instead of directly to the board. So it doesn't automatically make it, but doesn't it not make it easier for the next person to come along and say, you granted variance before, why am I being discriminated against and I can't get that variance?
So it doesn't. Obviously, someone can make that argument that, well, look over here and look here, and here. But at the end of the day, the factors, in particular for a variance, because it has to be a special situation of, look, this is what the zoning code says. And the township has set these restrictions, so there need to be special circumstances, and they need to meet these criteria. And just because someone else met the criteria doesn't mean that a neighbor has a strengthened argument for, well, they met the criteria, so naturally I meet the criteria. It really is, it's individual, and just because someone, your neighbor might have something doesn't mean that you get it as well.
And the reason I bring that up, I work for American Electric Power. I deal with a lot of contracts. I deal with a lot of union labor. And there's what's called Me Too in the union labors. If you get it, me too, I get it. If you get it, me too, I get it. Okay? So it concerns me, and I think it would concern the others. We open up the Pandora's box. It makes it easier for it to happen. Okay, I understand every request would be different, and every request would be on its merits that are there. But there is just that little bit of, it makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so that's my comment.
Thank you. Any last questions? Okay. There are no other questions, no other comments. Referencing variance case DACU 2323, I would make a motion to approve wall sign number 2, based on the factors that we take into consideration here. Move to approve case VACU 2323 for the property located 6459 Artesian Run. I'm seeking an area variance for a rezoning case to allow for wall sign identified in this report as wall sign number 2.
I'll second.
Motion to approve made by Mr. Shipley, seconded by Mr. Trez. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Trez?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Nell?
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Based on these factors, I move to approve case number VACU 23-23, wall sign number 3, north elevation for property located at 6459 Artesian Run, Lewis Center, Ohio 43035, seeking an area variance from rezoning case zone 16-03 to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign number 3 to be 1 foot 11 1/2 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zone planned commercial and office.
A second.
Motion made by Ms. Neff, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Trez?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Pass?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And I'd also make a motion to approve wall sign number 4, north elevation, based on same factors, seeking area variance to allow the wall sign identified in this report. Wall sign number 4 to be 2 feet 5 1/4 inches above the allowed 15 feet.
A second.
Motion made by Mr. Shipley, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Trez?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Pass?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Based on these factors, I move to approve case number BACU 23-23 for property located at 6459 Artesian Road, West Center, Ohio 43035, seeking an area variance from rezoning case ZON 16-03 to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign number 5 to be 7 3/4 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zoned planned commercial and office.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ms. Neff, seconded by Mr. Trez. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Trez?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Pass?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you for this presentation. It sounds like we'll see you again next month.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your consideration.
For everyone, you don't have to stay for the rest of the stuff. You're allowed to drift on that.
Unless you find this back.
Yeah, that's how I got on this board.
I have to thank our attorney there for keeping it straight.
Yes.
All right, so we'll move forward. The next item on the agenda is VA variance and conditional use application VACU 2324. Discussion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the variance case VACU-23-24 for property located at 6691 Artesian Run. The applicant is Seth Gorman with Permanent Solutions, representing McDonald's Corporation. They are requesting area variances from rezoning 18517 on Tandy Crossing South to allow for a monument sign along US 23 where it is prohibited, and to allow for a building without the required pitch roof. They are also seeking a conditional use from the Orange Township zoning resolution to allow for the monument sign should that variance be approved. For the summary, they are requesting a monument sign, which is an area variance from that rezoning case to allow for the monument sign to be located adjacent to the US 23 roadway frontage, as well as an area variance for a flat roof rather than a pitched roof. The monument sign will be 2 faces and 8 feet tall by 6 feet 3 inches wide with a masonry base. The sign display area will have dimensions of 6 feet and 3 inches. Tall by 6 feet and 3 inches wide, totaling 39 1/10 square feet on each side. The property is surrounded on 2 sides, to the north and to the east by planned commercial and office districts. To the south is the All Shepherds Lutheran Church, and to the west is the single-family planned residential district of All Tandy Crossings. On the following page of the staff report, you can see the property outlined in the aerial photo from the county auditor's website. And below that is the zoomed out area. All right, so the first area variance, so as part of the development text for this plan, commercial and office district, the text states that single-story buildings will be required to have pitched roofs with gable or hip ends. A minimum slope on the roof shall be 6/12. Roof materials shall be shingles, cedar shakes, slate or synthetic slate, and metal standing seating. Shingles to be minimum, medium weight, dimensional, or dimensional look shingles. Flat roofs shall be permitted on buildings of 2 stories or greater. The proposed new restaurant building will not meet the above requirement due to a flat roof design. The building will have an overall height of 18 feet and 3 inches. The design will include multiple accent and architectural awnings above the dining room windows, entry doors, and pickup windows. On the following page is the proposed monument sign. This monument sign is proposed to be constructed roughly 76 feet from the right-of-way of US 23 and having a display area of approximately 39 1/10 square feet. Monument sign with a setback of 76 feet is allowed to have a display area of 64 square feet per sign for a total of 128 square feet. Therefore, the monument sign meets the allowable area as per the code requirement. So, again, if this provision in the development text were not there, then this monument sign would meet the standards laid out in the Orange Township zoning resolution in terms of its size. And then the following page, similar to the previous case, if the variance is approved, then the applicant would also need a conditional use granted by this board to allow for the construction of this monument sign as per code. And then on the following page of the staff report, there's a color rendering of this monument sign with a happy gentleman for scale. And that is all I have at this point.
Mr. Dorman? Sir?
My name is Seth Dorman. I work for Permit Solutions. Our business address is 100 North Avenue, Suite 103 to 164, Talmadge, Ohio, 44278, and I was sworn in.
Thank you.
Eric, could you bring up the presentation? Thank you.
And quick question, would you like any of these distributed? These were from the previous.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Chair Shipley. Good evening, board members. Eric, if you could go to the second slide, please. First request for area variance from section 1406B3 of the Olentangy Crossing South Development Standards text to allow for a flat roof design in lieu of a 612 pitch roof with hip or gable ends. Most of the existing commercial buildings in this development have complied using a modified parapet that has the look of a residential roof line and not a true pitched roof. There are a couple exceptions to that. This was a popular design element in 2005 when the development standards were approved. I know that to be true. I was the city planner in Grove City at the time, and we were doing the same thing. The proposed McDonald's will have an overall height of 18 foot 3 inches, which is close to 2 stories by definition. 2-story commercial buildings per the development standards are permitted to have flat roofs. We respectfully request that the board approve this variance because we believe that what makes a business community strong is a diversity of architectural styles and not sameness. These unique styles help businesses differentiate themselves from other businesses. And in fact, the Olentangy Crossing South development standards agree with that statement in direct contradiction to the subsection for which we seek a variance when the standards state the buildings within the Olentangy Crossing South development will have a similar theme dealing with a range of colors for the exterior materials that would be available for use on the buildings. Building material color ranges shall present a uniformity of theme within the project rather than architectural styles. Next slide, please. Our second request is for an area variance from section 14.07N of the Old Tangi Crossing South Development Standards Text to allow a monument sign along US 23. Proposed sign is, as Mr. Duffy stated, would be 76 feet from the US 23 right of way, which is McDonald's east property line. Proposed sign would be 8 feet tall, overall height, with an area of just less than 40 square feet. The proposed sign would be an invaluable identifier, especially to customer traffic going north on US 23, due to limited access to the commercial lots within this development, and due to the speed limit width of US 23, which doesn't always lend itself to quick lane changes. For customer traffic going south, the proposed sign could also be an advance identifier that gives someone time to turn at Coal Bend, because once you pass Coal Bend going south, there is no direct access to the site, US 23.
Actually, the church. Right before the church.
We respectfully request that the board approve our variance request to allow McDonald's. This relatively small ground sign would have a significant impact for McDonald's in terms of advanced location recognition for drivers on US 23. Next slide, please. And finally, if the variance were to be approved for a monument sign, we would request in the conditional use permit to allow a ground sign for the proposed McDonald's. The sign would be set back again 76 feet from the US 23 right of way. The sign would not constitute a safety hazard or nuisance for the traveling public, but as an opportunity for an advanced identifier for potential customer traffic traveling both northbound and southbound on Columbus Pike. The church to the south does have an existing ground sign, and they're not part of the development. And other commercial businesses along US 23 also have ground signs without being detrimental to the community. The value of a ground sign to a commercial business is quite significant. So we respectfully request approval of the conditional use permit for the ground sign, as the sign would help McDonald's overcome the physical obstacles of the location, which include the required setback, results in a building that is tucked back and out of view from the road. And the McDonald's site is the first commercial lot within the development that's located north of the church. The church itself has two larger structures, the church building and a rather large shelter house, shelter building, which we believe minimizes the visibility of our site from US 23. And then the limited access that has been established for those commercial lots, Old Tangi Crossing South Development. So the best way to get into our site is you have to be able to get over and turn at Coal Bend to go down Artesian Run to get to our site. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you, sir. So I guess the first question would be, you've obviously thought about the monument sign. So what's an alternative to the monument sign? Do you have an alternative?
Well, I mean, we are looking for some sort of an advanced identifier on 23. We are going to be back next month for some variances on wall signage, depending on how that goes. But I guess I would ask a question of staff for clarification, and maybe the board as well. Does the code indicate, or the standards indicate, that we can't have a ground sign on 23, or we can't have a ground sign at all?
The specific text is that the ground sign cannot be located along US 23 right?
So I guess an alternative would be to have a ground sign on Artesian to give us some identification on the road where one of our primary entrances is. The other entrances are off of Point Bluff Drive, which is a private drive, and it's a right in, right out from 23.
Question?
Yeah. So, what would you do to the height of the building to get you within the 2 stories?
I guess it's going to depend on the township's definition of 2 stories. I believe that a story is 10 feet. I think 20 feet would considered 2 stories. One possible option, and I can't speak for McDonald's on this, I can only present that to them, but one potential option would be to raise the parapets another 1 foot 9 inches.
Never thought of a pitched metal whatever roof.
I would say that the building design that we're putting forward is a design that they're moving forward with in a lot of locations throughout the country. It is kind of their brand identifier now. And so their preference would be to have that look at this site as well.
Help me out. Drive-through? There's a drive-through, right?
There is a drive-through, yes.
And it's on which side of the building?
So on the north side of the building is where the drive-through lanes begin. Around the rear of the building is where your order points are.
Yeah.
And then on the south side of the building is where the pickup windows are. And I would like to kind of address the drawing that you have in front of you.
This one?
That's the one. So in 2013, the zoning official at the time issued a zoning permit for McDonald's for that design. A year later, he extended it, again, the same design. So
Question.
McDonald's, yes.
In 2013, you said?
That's correct.
Did you not have more ground at that time?
More ground at that time.
More land.
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know if they had a larger lot at the time.
You had a full lot, where Friendship was.
Where Friendship Kitchen is now, that was part of the McDonald's lot.
Yeah, I did not have that history personally. I didn't realize.
That may have, well, it's neither here nor there, but.
That's right. I just wanted to present that to you because that kind of what McDonald's is kind of done with the design. They thought that the design that we're presenting tonight would be fine because they did get a permit for a flat roof design 10 years ago.
Was that from the BZA?
That was administratively approved by the zoning inspector at the time.
Yeah.
I do not have an answer as to why the zoning inspector did not enforce the standards at that time.
I'm sorry, sir, you're not allowed to speak to public comment.
And we're not saying it's right or wrong. We're just saying that happened, and so that's really where McDonald's is coming from.
Site plan is in the packet. If you wanted to see where the drive-through is in the back side of it.
That's what I thought I saw one.
It's on the northwest corner of the property, the drive-through.
Yeah. Aha.
This one?
It also shows the monument sign.
Any other questions from the board members right at this moment?
Yeah.
You have to open it up for public comment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have some public comment. Some folks that want to speak. I think we've, I know, so I'll preface this with, I think we've covered the monument sign piece. So I think folks have an understanding of the monument, desire not to have a monument sign from public comment. So if we could.
I appreciate your request for that, but I'd like to have my name on record, John Beatty, 6726 Fall River Trail, Northern Tangent Crossings. I've been sworn before. I would like to add one comment that I am against the monument sign, just plain and simple. But the other question that I do have regarding that monument sign, where you asked Mr. Shibley, what would an alternative would be, and he said an alternative would be on that Point Bluff Drive. And based upon where the entrance is, I would assume he wouldn't be able to put that to the east, okay, because then that's still on 23, next to 23. So the other side would be on the other side of the entrance on Point Bluff. So then what would the point be for anybody to be able to see it? Because definitely at that point, nobody coming from the south side going north on 23 could see the sign. Nobody from the north side would be able to see the sign. So to me, it's a point in the sign. I'm sorry, but it's there. So that's my main point for this. The architectural of the building, I really can't speak very well to that, other than it seems an odd building compared to the rest of the designs that have been built along that part of it. I want to say back in 2013, several of us that are here were here back at that point opposing McDonald's being built at all. I want to reiterate on McDonald's building there that there is a code within that says no establishment can create a smell that goes beyond the property line of that establishment. Okay, that is in there. And at that time when we did that, none of you were here, but there was an individual on your board who half jokingly said, well, how do I know it will make a smell beyond that? It hasn't been built yet. And I jokingly said, well, have you not driven by McDonald's anywhere in your life? Type thing. So I want to reiterate that still violates that part of it, because once it's built, I'm going to ask you how you're going to close down the building, because the smell, the houses are right near that, and the church and the Friendship, when you smell the juicy hamburgers being fried up, what that might smell like. So I'm just going to keep that on again as for record for you guys, because I know you haven't heard that before. So that's it. That's all I had. I tried to keep it short.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And understand too that this is for the board. I mean, our issue is the flat roof and monument sign. That's what we're addressing here this evening. That's the job of the Board of Zoning Appeals tonight. So, sir, yes. You can state your name and address as you've been sworn in.
Certainly, John Goggins, 150 Long Branch Run, Delaware. I live in Northern Tangent Crossings as well, and I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
And my comments will be brief. Regarding the monument sign, I just want the board to consider that is a heavy commuter corridor. Tons of traffic coming down there every morning and every afternoon. All those businesses along there, Starbucks, Panera, and all those guys are doing just fine without monument signs out there. Somebody driving by might miss a business that first time by, but the commuter's going to stop at that place if he wants to go there the second time by. It's a heavy commuter corridor, and the monument sign isn't going to drive people into McDonald's. They're going to go in anyway because they're commuters. They'll go by there the next day now that they know it's there. And I just want to share that thought. As far as the architecture is concerned, I don't like it, but I don't suggest that I'm the arbiter of what's attractive, so I don't take any issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir.
Kevin Schatz, 6653 Old Ironside Lane, Delaware, Ohio. I was actually here.
You need to say you've been sworn to her.
Yeah, I've been sworn in, yeah. I was actually here for the 2013 meeting. You guys, of course, all weren't on the board. The reasoning why the zoning did approve that was Friendship wasn't there. It was all one map. So they did approve the McDonald's. However, there was restrictions in place that they were denied because the lot, you weren't allowed to build a drive-through adjacent to the church. So there was restrictions in there. So they separated that so McDonald's could come in and actually build. So then that would void that restriction. So I just want to make that clear. That's why that building was approved. So actually it has to be kind of gone back over. And one thing you want to keep in mind too is I know they keep saying, well, this is a structure that has to, this is our overall brand. Well, you go to New Albany, they have a brand there. They have to have a certain, building structure. It's all required in New Albany. So, I mean, we have requirements. And so that's all I want you to do is kind of look at that, look at the building, and, kind of go back on 2013, why it was approved and why, we shouldn't approve some of the things now. Thank you.
Sir, I just have a question. So, knowing what's before us today, being the roof and the monument sign, you're speaking against both?
I'm speaking against both. I'm speaking against both of those. I'm speaking against McDonald's totally. But I mean, and I don't even know if it's going to be a 24-hour drive-through because there's residents. I'm not directly behind it, but it's a concern. But yeah, both the sign, and this sign's huge. I don't know if they have an 8-foot guy standing next to him, that guy's. I mean, that sign's a lot bigger than it seems with that person standing next to it. And it's not necessary, as he was saying, that, you have to turn in on Colvin. No, you don't. You can turn right in on the church. That's where everybody that goes to that church turns in, because it's dangerous to try to stop on traffic and turn on Colvin. We all know how many accidents are at that point right now. So, I mean, putting in another big sign here too could be an obstruction. When people are coming out of that church area. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues, so I'm totally against it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Anthony?
I'm not sure if I'm sworn in because when he was being sworn in, I also swore in.
Sure.
Robin McComb, 6710 Fallbrook Trail, also a resident of Old Tangy Crossings. I think the biggest concerns we have right now is the location that, we're talking about a monument sign. Everybody sees that as a thoroughfare. There are no right turning lanes there, either into Coal Bend or Point Bluff, which is a direct access road right after. If you don't know that, then you don't know the property. Two deadly sites where accidents happen very regularly. It's right across the street from the high school, so this is a very dangerous area. Honestly, I wish McDonald's, and we quite frankly thought McDonald's had reconsidered. They actually put it in their real estate hands, took it out of McDonald's, put it in their McDonald's real estate. So we thought was going to be a non-issue, because we've also lived there since 2012. Just want to reiterate that that's a dangerous area. No monument sign's going to help that. The smell, the sound. There's no sound supposedly until there is sound, which is what we were told, same with the smell. The code was written because of the neighborhood behind it. The pitched roof, the non-monument signs along 23. Those are already written codes. I can't believe as residents of this community we have to keep fighting those. Somebody here, we're thankful that the previous members of the zoning board supported the residents, and we're asking for that again today. We're here as members. I've lived here for 23 years. I moved here because of the township. We enjoyed it. We actually moved within the township to stay within the township. So now we're asking you to speak for us residents in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question? If they make it 20 feet tall, then they won't have to have a variance for a flat roof?
If it meets the requirements.
I would say that if it meets the definition of a two-story building, we do not have a definition of a two-story building in our zoning code.
Okay. I was listening to the other zoning meeting from our hearing last night, and Trustee Knapp was talking about, if sometimes when you don't approve something that you would deem as worse comes through and doesn't need approval. So trying to think it through a little bit.
Do you have anything more to
Thank you again, Chair Shipley. Just to respond to a couple of comments that I heard. I was suggesting that maybe an alternative would be a sign on Artesian Run. And another alternative, I guess, would be Point Bluff. That would be something that I would have to take back to McDonald's to see what their desire would be for that. So that's something that I could do. Let's see here. Just looking at the sign rendering of the monument sign, just to be correct on that or clear on that, the guy is 6 feet tall. It's just trying to show the scale of the sign. He's not 8 feet tall. And that's, I guess, all I have. If you have any other questions, again, happy to answer them.
Can I ask a question? Asking the direct question.
Yeah, you have to step up to the microphone so we can get it.
I guess my question to McDonald's is, what's the point of Artesian Run? I mean, if you put a sign back there, who's going to see it? The neighborhood that's right behind Artesian? Do you know where Artesian even runs? Okay, so what would be the point of putting a big sign back there? I mean, it's not that, like we said, we want some of these establishments to come in, but it's to me, owning a business too, it's a waste of money to put a big sign where nobody's going to be traveling except most people trying to cut through or go around. So,
but I think our issue here for the board tonight is the sign the way it's written.
Either way, it shouldn't go in. So
the sign, the request that's here in front of us tonight is really what we're discussing. If you have a different idea or well, let's leave it at that. That's what's in front of us tonight.
And I would say that's the alternative location is Point Bluff or Artesian Run. Those will have different setbacks from those roads. Point Bluff is private; it's not a public road, but we would still have to meet setbacks from Artesian and 23. If we put the sign as an identifier on Artesian Run, the setback would be different. It's not going to be 76 feet, so the size of that sign would be different. If I'm hearing that the board might consider a monument sign in a different location, I would ask that we continue until the next meeting to present some other alternatives for that portion of it.
Yeah, I don't want to lead you down that path. I don't want you to hear that the board may consider that because that's not something we can't consider. It's not in front of us, so we can't do that.
Maybe it could be a different mix of board members anyway.
Absolutely right. So it would be a different request. So we couldn't address that even if we wanted to.
That's fair. It might not even need a variance.
So yes, I don't want you to think that I can lead you down that path. I'm not. Certainly not doing that. The only thing we can look at tonight is exactly what's in front of us. If you decided that you wanted to do something different, then you have options with that. Not tonight, but you have options to continue something along those lines if that's something that you wanted to do, as you've seen us do before. But I don't want you to think the board is leading you any direction because that's not our intent at all.
Thank you.
Just one second. Sir, do you have something else?
Just a quick comment on something he just said. I think he said, so forgive me if I'm speaking wrong here. You said that Artesian was not a public, it was a private road?
Point Bluff
is not a private road, it is a public road.
Right.
It's public, it's maintained by the city for plowing, and they just repaved the surface, and it is a public road. The only part that's private is when you go through the gates of the subdivision into the neighborhood, that becomes a public road at that point there. I'm very, very clear on that because we've had to deal with that in the past. As we do as a board, it was public and it was private. And the board corrected us at that point in time too. just.
And I would simply say I had been told it was a private road by staff, so it would be nice to have clarity on that as well.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so it sounds like the hope, or the one possible consideration is the applicant might have some additional options.
Thank you.
For the board. And Robert and I were kind of talking about the potential process for the monument sign. Sounds like we need to do some homework, do some homework, figure out possible locations and that type of thing. My thought would be for the entire application to be continued.
I think that's probably some good advice. If that, and I think you mentioned that possibility of looking at some other options. So again, and so what you mentioned is that you could, if you want, ask for a continuation of the package, as we did previously, to the next board meeting, for example, give you some time to look through that and see if there's something else that you want to come up with.
Clarification, the monument sign portion, or are you saying?
I think the board is just looking for clarification on the monument sign for creating basis. And in terms of location, but just since there are 3 items, 2 of them are related to the monument sign, just kind of administratively might make sense to request a continuance for the whole application.
Including the building.
Including the building.
Yeah, okay, good. That request has to come from you.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess if that is the recommendation of council and staff, we would seek to continue to the next meeting.
What's the date of that next meeting? Sorry.
December 14th at 6 p.m. 14th.
So at the request of Mr. Norman, I would make a motion that for a continuance of VACU 2324 in its entirety to the 14 December 2023 6 p.m. Board of Zoning Appeals meeting.
Second.
A motion to continue made by Mr. Shipley, seconded by Mr. Treves. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Treves?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One last comment on that, if you don't mind.
He has a comment.
Thank you.
Oh, with all due respect, unfortunately, because the application is no longer before the BZA.
I didn't get a chance to get my comment, though. I didn't have my hand up.
Nobody asked.
So the applicant has requested that it be continued, and there will be an additional opportunity for public comment when it is.
Yes.
Which means that's coming back on 14 Sunday.
Okay. I do want to thank everybody for their professionalism. I know sometimes we go back and forth on that, but I thank you for your professionalism. Everybody gets their opinions. Everybody gets their voice heard. And if I miss somebody, I apologize.
Do I need to stand up?
We can't talk about the case that's no
I'm not
longer.
talking about the case. And this is just really a comment, okay?
Please come up to the mic regardless, because you have to, because she needs to hear
I
you.
asked him, he didn't answer.
Sorry.
Again, my name is John P. 6726 Baldwin Drive. I was sworn in. Some of us are back here talking. You know, we made specific time to come out and address these particular items that were in here. It's disheartening for me and my fellow, they live right next door. He lives a little bit further away, and she's over close to me as well. It's disheartening that we come here to make comments and lawyers, yourself, say, in order to not have to address this and say yay, nay, let's do a continuance and make the person come back and do something. That's disheartening. Now we have to come back again to be able to say the exact same things again to you to get an approval or disapproval for that variance. So I don't quite understand that, but I guess that's government for you. That's nothing ever gets solved. It just moves on down, kick it down the road. So I just want to say that. And say, remember, I know they're asking for it, but I think it's a charge of yours to make a decision instead of just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, we're going to move on to the next
I'm sorry, I was told no last time. There's a reason why these things have been written down, right? And I just ask that you guys consider that instead of these people coming back over and over and over again and requiring us to come back to register our complaint, that you just consider it in the context that it is. It's not a branding thing. It's just something that they want done, right? They want to have as much visibility as possible, and it is detrimental to the quality of life for the residents. It just is. So we're just asking for that consideration.
Thank you. All right, the next variance, the next item on the agenda is variance application BA 2325.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is variance case VA-23-25. This is for a property located at 55 Meadow Park Avenue. The applicant is listed as Sean Walker with Chick-fil-A. This is a planned commercial and office district. They are requesting a number of area variances from the Orange Township zoning resolution. One from section 21.09 to allow an accessory structure within the 80-foot setback from US 23. 4 area variances from section 22.03C to allow 4 wall signs above the allowed 15 feet height limit. 1 from section 14.07N to allow for an impervious surface ratio greater than the allowed 75%, and 1 from rezoning case 9968 to allow for pavement area to encroach into the 48-foot setback from US 23. So again, those are the variances requested. This is a little bit of a unique situation where there is a new building that is proposed essentially in an outlot, but it is not a separated lot. So it is one big parcel that is currently occupied by Staples and then the old Giant Eagle building as well, if you're familiar with the area. So it is surrounded on all 4 sides by both commercial and office districts. And if you can go to the next page, have a little clarity. So on that, you can see the zoomed in parcel. So it's the entire parcel that is what we're legally considering. The structure of this is that Chick-fil-A will be leasing a portion of that property from the property owners in that essentially the northwest quadrant of that site where Eric's mouse is now would be where the proposed construction would be.
So they're not going into Staples, they're going to build.
Correct.
Okay.
Seriously.
There's something in Staples now, it's like a beauty salon. I know. Next to. Like next to, yeah. So it's across the street from the McDonald's.
Correct.
Yes.
And it is a permitted use in this zoning district. Okay, so our first variance request, we've heard a lot about this evening, is from section 22.03 to allow for a wall sign that is greater than the 15-foot height limit, again measured to the top of the sign. The applicant has proposed, we're calling it wall sign B, to be placed at a height of 18 feet and 6 inches. That is a variance of 3 feet 6 inches, which represents roughly a 23% variance request from the Orange Township zoning resolution. The second area variance is for wall sign C, which is the Chick-fil-A there shown on the screen. That is also height variance. The sign is proposed to be placed at a height of 18 feet and 6 inches A variance of 3 feet and 6 inches is being requested. Again, roughly a 23% variance from the standards of the Orange Township zoning resolution. The third wall sign D, again shown on your screen, has an overall height of 19 feet, roughly 19 feet, so it's proposed to be placed at 18 feet and 6 inches, which is a variance of 3 feet and 6 inches. This represents roughly a 23% variance request from Orange Township zoning resolution. The fourth wall sign is wall sign E, again 18 feet and 6 inches, variance of 3 feet and 6 inches, roughly a 23% variance request for the zoning resolution. Alright, those are our wall sign variances. So Exhibit 5, and this is where things are going to get a little more complicated. So this zoning district, as many of our commercial zoning districts do, will have a total lot coverage percentage limit of 75%. That is for the entire property as a whole and not necessarily this specific area that is being leased by Chick-fil-A. It's for the entire site. Currently, the site is non-conforming with this requirement. So it's roughly the figures that were proposed by the applicant was that the existing impermeable surfaces total up to about 78%. There would be some additional impervious surfaces with this new construction, which would raise it essentially 3%, which would bring the total impervious surface of the area to 81%. That would not meet the above requirement. Again, it is currently non-compliant at 78%. So if we're doing that math, that's a 6% variance over the 75% allowed should this construction go through. Exhibit 6 is an accessory structure within the required 80-foot setback from US 23. So you can see kind of the center there where it's a little hard to see on the screen, but C, B, D, and E, those are essentially the outlines of the building. So the main building itself would be compliant with the 80-foot setback from 23. However, they're proposing a canopy over their drive-through lanes, where you can see, it's a little difficult to see, but H1 and H2 near the bottom there, that's where the proposed canopy would be, which would encroach into that 80-foot setback. So it would be a freestanding canopy structure. It would be roughly 30 feet into that setback, which is roughly a 37.5% variance request. But again, it's just the accessory structure. It's not the main building.
Are those parking spots there now?
Yes, so it's a little bit difficult to see because there are existing parking spots kind of overlaid with that proposed new construction.
And the H1 and H2, those are permanent. I understand that, but how are they attached in, and does that meet our definition of structure?
I believe it would meet our definition of a structure. Essentially, our definition of a structure as defined by our zoning resolution is anything that is permanently affixed to the ground. I'm assuming that it has some kind of footer or something, so it's not just going to blow away. I think that's a good assumption.
I guess my question was, with that, just for clarification, where H1 and H2 are located at right now, or where they're proposed to be at, that existing today is paved.
Correct.
With parking spots. Yes. Cars could park there now.
Correct. All right, and now we get even more complicated there. If you can go down another page. And we'll go down one more page. So I think, yeah, you need the other.
question here.
Okay, so this was a recent finding, so I did email the board about this kind of within the last 24 hours, that we discovered it was kind of buried deep in the development plan, that there's also a parking setback that is part of this property that really we were not aware of and the applicant was not aware of until very recently. And so that parking setback is 48 feet from the right-of-way of US 23. And so this snip kind of gives you a decent idea where the 23 essentially is a little bit diagonal, and so it's on the left-hand side of the screen, the northern part where there's existing pavement, that does comply, but the new proposed construction goes kind of in a straight line, and so at its closest point, it would be 12 feet into that parking setback. So the distance is roughly 36 feet, 2 inches as shown on their site plan. So that would be roughly 12 feet, which is a 25% variance request. So seven total variances.
I guess the one concern I have, I'm looking at the site plan that was provided by the applicant, and I understand the breach and encroachment on 23. That's very clear. I'm looking at the the north side of the site, the proposed development there, in particular to where the existing parking is. And if I'm reading this plan correctly, it is significant extension to the north of paved, asphalt, basically, where there is lawn area now.
Yeah.
Is that so? Is there an easement or a setback? I see a 50-foot building setback. Is there any type of parking setback along Meadow Park Avenue?
Well, let me pull up the development text. So as shown on the development plan, it is not mentioned in the development text, but as shown on the plan, there's a 30-foot parking setback from on the northern side.
So again, you were saying there's a 30-foot
correct
parking on the north property line, the right of way?
Correct.
I don't see a dimension on here, so I can't tell how close that corner turn is there, but there's a radius of 20 feet. I mean, it's like 15 feet.
Not far.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know. I'm only bringing that up. I'm trying to understand the full breadth of the encroachment and the extent of beyond the setbacks. And I understand clearly your presentation and what we're seeing on the south. Excuse me, against 23. which would be the
West.
west. But where I'm really having a tough time still is fully getting a breadth and understanding of what we're dealing with on the north.
So the closest, there's the cut in over by Bob Evans that you could get in here. Otherwise, you're turning onto Meadow Park.
Correct. From 21st.
Yeah.
Correct.
Actually, sorry, I need to. My laptop is out of batteries. I'm going to switch locations. Give me a second.
It's just a landscape setback.
Yeah, it just gives us a scale.
It's just for scale right there.
That's the reason I didn't see it online. I had it folded under.
I'm booting up. While I'm booting up, I have a question for Ms. Donovan. How binding are setbacks that are shown on a site plan in the original development plan versus setbacks that are clearly listed in the text?
So there's a discrepancy.
So the text does not specify the setbacks.
Okay.
There are these setbacks that are shown on the development plan that was done in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But that is all we have to go on.
If the plan does not include a specific length or setback identifier, then I think that, but there is something identified on the actual plan, I think that the board has to take the position that that's the setback that was originally approved.
Okay.
But if there was an inconsistency, I'd say whatever is more generous to the property owners, what we need to go by.
Because that was our issue. This was the text was silent on it, which is traditionally how we derive the setbacks. But then it was found on these plans that there was a parking setback indicated. So if you can give me 1 second, I can measure the distance between.
I wasn't trying to keep you on hold, sir. I just wanted to make sure that you.
Yeah, please.
It's all good.
Did the heat turn off in here? It's freezing.
What?
I'm having adjusted anything, but we
Is
can
it
take
just
a look.
me? It's
It is typically cold for this room.
Really? I'm sitting here about ready to sweat.
I just feel like the temperatures dropped, so I didn't know if you shut off at 8.
I think it just cooled down after that group left.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe.
Alright, so assuming that there is a 30-foot parking setback from on the north side, I've measured the site plan provided by the applicant, so there would be a 17 feet and 1.5 inch distance between
Into
the
the
proposed.
setback?
Sorry?
It's into the setback 17 feet?
That would be the distance, so it would be 12 feet.
12 feet.
12, almost 13.
Yeah.
12 feet, 10.5 inches.
Into a 30-foot.
Yeah.
So roughly a 42%.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now that we have our facts straight for the moment, Mr. Bill Skiba is here on behalf of the applicant.
Sir, I think you've been here long enough. Take your name and address and say, and you can join in, please.
Well, sure thing. First, thank you all. My name is Bill Skiba. I'm civil engineer with Killinghorn at 7965 North High Street. I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
And name information over there on the side. Just want to thank you, Chair Shipley, and the rest of the board, along with Robin, and patience and time mental, and really appreciate the level of coordination and transparency to this point. I want to start by addressing the recent discoveries as it relates to parking and landscape setbacks with the adjacencies to Wolf 23 and Meadow Park Ave. It was not our intent when developing the site initially at all to find ourselves in this situation. We engaged in pre-development meetings with Mr. Duffy and other members of local development organizations, county, Delco, et cetera. We really tried to do our homework on this and dig into what we can and cannot do. So to find ourselves in this situation, I just want to make very clear that this was not our intent, and we do apologize for the fact that this is even something that we're discussing. But that being said, I think that given the nature of the other variances being under that 25% kind of threshold that has been discussed, and I also want to put forward, I'm not aware if that's a hard, fast rule or just general policy within the township, but we're hoping that given the limited nature of some of the height variances that we're requesting on the signage, being 18.5 foot, 3.5 above the 15-foot requirement, that those can be looked on favorably. Part of the reason why those are in excess of the height is if you look at some of the signage renderings, you'll notice that there are some architectural elements that the awnings do tie into. So given the nature of where those are tying in the whole machinations of the building, we are looking to center the signage between the parapet, which we've raised above code in order to match the 20-foot requirement, meet the 20-foot requirement, in order to have a visually appealing building, not signage that just looks off-center in relation to some of the articulation that is on our house. With the impervious coverage variance that we're requesting, our set in the lease area, we're going to be below the standard. We're coming in at around, I believe, 71%. And I don't want to speak for the landlord, but I do not want Chick-fil-A to be held responsible and reliable for the remainder of the development. It would be our expectation and understanding that any future parcel subdivisions, et cetera, that the landlord wishes to pursue, any of those developments, therefore, would have to meet the standard of which that is provided within the zoning code. So with what we're doing, we're trying to be in compliance with keeping that to 71, and given the nature of just the late catch of those setbacks very deep within that development plan, we're hoping that there could be some leniency applied, given that 12.5 foot or 13 foot, encroachment into the setback, and that's going to be above that 25% threshold. So we're willing to work with you all. We'd love to hear your comments and positions on what y'all think about the site, and happy to answer any questions as it relates to site development or things that may be related to Chick-fil-A.
Thank you. Questions?
I guess my main question is around the variance of 30 feet being requested for their canopy. Did you, because that is a 60% variance, are there other options?
So that's something that in the very beginning will be addressed with Mr. Duffy and staff and one of the work through. This is an open-sided structure. The purpose of this is to provide a safe working environment for the Chick-fil-A staff and employees to go out and take an order. In order for the building operations to be performed, which is the Chick-fil-A standard, which they treat their employees pretty well from my perspective, we can't push that building further north. To push the building further north would allow for us to meet that requirement, and given the preset standard of distance between where the order is delivered versus where the order is placed, there are requirements of delta between where those actually happen. It's 180 foot. So we can't really, if we push that further to the west, we're still going to be in that setback. And if we push the entire site north, what we're going to find is that the constraints on parking, the constraints on being able to actually get folks onto the site would be too constrained in order to prevent the building from operating and the business from operating as per what Chick-fil-A is looking for here.
Those are Chick-fil-A standards, correct?
Yes, and the Chick-fil-A standards specifically that I'm talking about are related to parking count on site. Chick-fil-A is working with the landlord in order to pursue a shared parking agreement in order to get more parking to meet their standard, but Chick-fil-A's are busy. They don't want traffic spilling out into the adjacent development, into the adjacent businesses. They want to keep everything on site. So they, have gone through rigorous nationwide review on really what those numbers are that they need to hit in order to keep that traffic on site, not spill off, and be able to serve their customers and clients in a way that fits a Chick-fil-A.
And if I can clarify something for the board, there was an error in the staff report, so I want to apologize for that and clarify. So the variance is 30 feet into the 80-foot setback for the proposed canopy. That's a 37.5% variance, not a 60% variance. That was our mistake.
37.5 is by 60.
It's 37, so it's 30 feet into the 80-foot setback.
Right.
So the percentage is
Percentage.
The percentage is
37.5.
incorrect.
Correct.
Right. Percentage is 37.5.
Correct.
By 60. Instead of 60.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
The vice thing.
Yeah, gotcha, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. Is the setback 1 or 2 variances?
So there's different variances. So the setback for the canopy structure would be 1 variance, and then there would be 2 additional variances for the parking setback from both the north road and the west.
West, yeah.
So 3 total setback variances, 1 for the canopy, 2 for pavement.
And the parking space requirement, you said, is based on the entire property, not just
Correct.
Chick-fil-A's portion. That's what you were talking about, the landlord.
That was specifically related to the pervious and impervious ratio. We have provided that the parking counts that show we're remaining within compliance of the overall area, and if ever in the future this lot was subdivided and turned into a separate parcel, the Chick-fil-A parcel would be compliant based on within its own area of the parking lot. I apologize for being a little unclear on that.
No, you were clear. Thank you. I was trying to understand the different pieces and parts of the variances.
Any other questions? No. Last chance. After public comment. Nobody else? Okay, someone want to make a motion? So we have, quite through these work groups. Yes. To keep it straight.
I'm okay with making a motion on the first line variance.
Okay.
I make a motion to, based on these factors, I move to approve case number VA 23-25 for the property located at 55 Meadow Park Avenue, Lewis Center, Ohio 43035, seeking one area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22.03C, to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign B to be 3 feet 6 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zoned planned commercial and office district.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Neff, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Travis?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And I'll make a motion on the area variance request, wall sign C on the north elevation. And based on the factors that we consider here, make a motion to approve case number VA 2325, again for wall sign C, to allow for the wall sign identified in this report to be 3 feet 6 inches above the allowed 15 feet.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Shipley, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Travis?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Based on the considering factors, I move to approve case number VA 2325 for the property located at 55 Meadow Park Avenue, Lewis Center, Ohio 43035, seeking one area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22.03C, to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign D to be 3 feet 6 inches above the allowed 15 foot in an area zoned in commercial and office PC district.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Ms. Ross, seconded by Mr. Shipley. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Travis?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Based on the considering factors, I move to approve case number VA 2325 for the property located at 55 Meadow Park Avenue, Lewis Center, Ohio 43035, seeking one area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution 22.03C to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign E to be 3 foot 6 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zoned planned commercial and office PC district.
Second. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Motion made by Ms. Ross, seconded by Ms. Neff. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Travis?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I move to approve, based on these factors, I move to approve case number VA 23-25 for the property located at 55 Meadow Park Avenue, Lewis Center, Ohio 43035, seeking an area variance from the rezoning case 9968 to allow for impervious surface ratio of 81% in the area zone planned commercial and office PC district.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Travis, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Travis?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
No.
Motion carries.
Can we have a point of discussion on this?
Yeah,
The
I just
impervious,
missed
the condition of the site and the actual architectural layout there too. I'm curious, noting that the building is parallel with the main property, however not parallel with 23, so I'm curious, this may not be in your purview, maybe it was a design architect's role at this point. You're the civil engineer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But I am curious, seeing that encroachment, particularly on the southwest corner, that it is being predicated on the building being parallel with the main building, not with the property line on 23. Was that even considered to, in essence, crank the building and basically siting it parallel so we wouldn't have that encroachment?
You know, there are a few iterations that we went through on the site design prior to what we're coming up with right now. One of the prior iterations, we actually did have the drive-through lane parallel with the curb line, as you see there, parallel with 23. So I apologize, that's not exactly, I think what you're looking for there with the building rotated parallel with 23.
Correct.
I can provide some information there as to why that wasn't something that was actively considered as we were working through this design. To rotate the building parallel with 23 would create a lot of dead space as it relates to the adjacent future users and circulation throughout the remainder of the overall tract. So we found ourselves between a rock and a hard place where we understand, hey, things are going to look better when they're parallel to the right way. Parallel and perpendicular is one of my sticking points when I'm trying to transfer our younger engineers on how we want to create a tight site. And in this situation, we did find ourselves in a situation, for lack of a better word there, where we have a main user, which is pretty significant footprint that expands, I don't want to put a number on it, but it extends a fair amount down 23. That's a big visual that you're looking at there. So there's an element of we want the site to fit in and flow with the adjacent development along with potential future users, not to speak for that, but then also trying to fit it in a way where we were having to be parallel then with 23. The reason for which that we shifted away from having things be parallel to 23 was in order to provide better site circulation along our drive aisles, in order to bring in the loading and unloading vehicles, in order to service the building and keep those off of the surrounding lease area. So in doing that, what had happened was we had to shift the building slightly further south, which we had to update the orientation of then the drive-through lane in order to hit those minimum distances that went along with providing the proper spacing for order pickup and order placement. It's a very convoluted statement. I'm happy to dig into that a little more.
I understand. I appreciate your thorough explanation on it. I frankly drive by this site all the time, and I also realize how peculiar, frankly, it's going to look where you've got that parking setback rolling along there, to then all of a sudden here it checks out with that curve turn on that curve, and it's just very peculiar. It's just one way of looking at it, but it's just seems like, my God, could that have not been avoided? Could have been avoided to basically increase or decrease your impervious percentage, and keep the green space, which is a precious commodity anymore in Orange Township. That's just something that I'm just genuinely curious how that, and I understand all the factors that you're talking about on the back of the parking to your dumpster enclosures up there on the east side of the property. It's just something that I wasn't sure whether that had been studied and if it was impossible to go there. I just wanted to voice at least my concern on the easement or the variance request and the percentage of the impervious. I find it a bit unfortunate, and it's a lot of asphalt, a lot of drive aisle. A lot. It looks like the Indianapolis 500 to me running around there. It's a lot of space, a lot of queuing. I guess that's part of the branding Chick-fil-A, perhaps, but it's a lot. When I compare to even McDonald's that we were just looking at, and people have issues with McDonald's. That's okay. That's their prerogative, but I just don't. It's just something I didn't know if the board if we had considered, the extent of that encroachment especially on the north, which is a significant amount of asphalt going in where we have green space currently. So I wanted to just voice that, and the vote's taken, but I understand. I'll yield, but
thank you. Do we have one more? Yeah. There we do.
So we will actually have 3 more total variances. 2 of them are not listed in the staff report.
Right.
And I'm sorry, tell me, It's late. What are 7 and 8?
So-
What are the last two?
So Exhibit 6 is the building setback for the canopy. The other two would be the parking setbacks, one from US 23 and one from Meadow Park.
Okay.
And when I propose we do the building canopy first, and then I can give you the figures for the two parking setbacks so that we're all clear.
And again, it's 37.5% instead of 60%.
That is correct.
30 feet into an 80 foot.
Correct.
30 feet into an 80 foot. Okay, so area variance request. I move to approve based on these factors. Case number VA 2325, property located at 55 Middle Park Avenue, Little Center, Ohio 43035. Seeking an area variance from section 2109 to allow for accessory structure to encroach 30 feet into the required 80-foot setback from US 23 in area zone light commercial and office district.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Shipley, seconded by Mr. Trez. Those voting? Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Trez?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
No.
Mr. Pax?
No.
Motion carries 3-2.
Yeah, we don't have the.
All right.
You can give us a little information on the next two.
Yes. And Eric, do you have the updated one, the updated staff report that you can pull up?
Let me take
that
that.
at least has the one from 23 to look at.
I had loaded that in there. Just a moment here.
All right. So while he's reading that, so the proposed parking area will not meet the development plan parking and pavement setback distance of 48 feet based on the drive aisle encroaching 12 feet into the required setback on the southwest side of the site. This represents a 25% variance request from the parking setback laid out in rezoning case number 9968. So this is 12 feet into a 48-foot setback. And this is where the parking
What was the
setback.
percentage again?
25%.
And southwest is the top corner.
So it's the bottom right corner.
Bottom right.
North is planning left.
Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So it is better. And I'm sorry, can you read that one more time? What? It's,
So it encroaches 12 feet into the 48-foot setback. So it's a 25% variance.
It's a parking variance.
Correct. Parking and pavement.
Parking.
Pavement, essentially.
Yes. So it's roughly 36 feet distance between the right of way of 23 and the pavement.
Okay.
What would its number be? It would be 25, 26, right? 23-26.
Right.
So I think you can do it as part of the same case, but just specify that it's a variance for the parking and pavement setback.
All right, so let's try this.
Is there a specific section of the code that we need to reference?
No, it's rezoning case number 9968 rather than a section of the code.
So correct me on this.
And if the person who's making the motion wants to borrow my screen where I have it pulled up, you are welcome to.
This might be it.
Go ahead. Is that all right?
the number 7, Robin?
Yeah.
Correct, yeah. Excuse me, before we make a motion, can I pose a question to staff?
Yeah.
Is the recommendation that we proceed for a vote, or we request for a continuance?
I do not have a recommendation for you. That is up to you.
I have no comment based on that.
I would try.
It is.
I can do it if you want me to.
All the way at the top isn't, you'll have to reword it.
I got it. Give me a second.
I'm sorry, which one was it?
That's going to be part of the 9968 also.
Yeah.
All right. So,
7.
again, based on the factors, I move to approve case number VA 2325, seeking an area variance from rezoning case 9968 to allow a pavement variance of 12 feet into the 48-foot setback in an area zone planning commercial and office district.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Shipley, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Trez?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
No.
Mr. Pax?
No.
Motion carries 3-2.
And the last.
Correct.
And this is the same parking and pavement, but it's from Meadow
Park.
Same distance?
No.
Okay.
So it is.
It's 12 feet into
a 30.
30.
Yeah. So we'll call it. Yeah.
Okay.
12 feet, 10 and a half inches.
12 feet, 10.
Okay.
There it is, right over that now.
Yeah.
All right, so let's roll with that. So based on the same factors, I move to approve case number VA 2325, property located 55 Meadow Park Avenue, seeking an area variance from rezoning case 9968 to allow a pavement variance of 12 foot 10.5 inches into a 30-foot setback. I'm sorry, in an area zoned planning commercial and office district.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Shipley, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Trez?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What percentage is this? 40%?
No.
12 of 30?
42%.
That's what I thought.
42%.
No.
Mr. Pax?
No. I'm confused. This plan that was included, is this what the issue is with the revisions?
May I approach it and take a look at what you're looking at?
Yeah. That was in the exhibits?
So this is the previous orientation of the site, and we provided to Mr. Duffy and staff the updated version, which I'm quoting it right now, and that is this. So I apologize for any confusion that this might have caused.
Okay, that's fine. That's what I was.
Which that actually shows the annotations of the roof.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so prepared to answer our questions.
It's a two-way street, and it also.
I think that finishes that one, right?
That finishes this variance case.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, last thing we have on the agenda. Approval of minutes, October 9th, 19th, 2023 minutes, VA 2320 and 2321. I sent you my input.
I did receive correspondence from Mr. Shipley and Ms. Ross with no corrections from Mr. Shipley and corrections from Ms. Ross. Does anybody have any additional corrections from the previous meeting minutes?
I do not.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended from the October 19th, 2023 meeting for VA 2320 and VA 2021.
Motion to approve the minutes made by Mr. Shipley, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Trez?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
Yes.
Anything else?
So one bit of housekeeping that I want to mention. So as most of you are probably aware, and if you're not aware, then I will remind you we are looking at rewriting our entire zoning code. I did email that out to the board recently. Obviously, that's a very dense document. Mr. Pax, I don't know if I sent that to you yet, but I can as well. I think we will bring it to you at some point in the next few months for kind of a general discussion, but I would also like to meet with any one of you individually to talk about that. I would love to get your feedback. That can take a variety of forms. That, if you want to just read through it, type up an email and send it to me, great. If you want to meet for coffee, great. If you want to come to the office, have a meeting with me, great. If you want to have a Zoom call, great. If you want to have a cold beverage with me after work and talk about it, that's also great. Whatever works for all of you and your schedules, I would love your feedback. So we are looking at, staff has taken this essentially as far as we can with our review. We're starting to take it to legal counsel, to a meeting with our trustees individually to get their feedback. And with some of our county partners as well. And we're hoping to launch that adoption process January or February of next year. So that will be coming down the pipeline. So I know it's the holiday season, everybody is busy, but if you have time out of your day to talk about new zoning rules, I would love to chat about that.
Are there open meeting rules prohibiting us from meeting
So,
group form?
Yes, so not more than 3 of you can meet at any one time to discuss business. So if 2 of you do want to sit down with me at the same time,
2, yes,
yes.
3, no.
Correct. It cannot be a voting majority.
All right.
So there's that is out there on the table. The other housekeeping that I have, so Eric Kadetsky is our new senior zoning officer. That is the role that traditionally handles the board of zoning appeals. So I've been happy to work with you a little bit more closely for a few months while we get him up to speed. But I think starting next month, Eric will be sitting where I'm sitting, and Andrew will be sitting where Eric is sitting, and I will go back to my normal role over there.
We should, and I know I speak for the entire board, say thanks for all you've done. You've been very, the communication's been great, the support's been great. It's been great to work with, so we certainly appreciate all you've done.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, meeting adjourned. You earned your $10.